Okay guys, I had a check engine light come on my dash, so I pulled out my little trusty scan tool from Bavarian, and I pulled the codes, and it only had two codes in the system, and they were F5 and F6. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to check the parts in the system, and I'm going to show you what you need in order to do it. It would be good to have your manual, because within this manual it will show you the parts in the system. And we're going to check the air pump to make sure that it's operational. We're going to check the diverter valve. That's this valve right here, number 6. And we're also going to check to make sure that this vacuum operated solenoid is working also. And we're going to do all this at one time. In order to do this, you're going to need a vacuum gauge. Purchased mine from AutoZone. We're going to use this to make sure that the vacuum actuated solenoid is operating. And we need a common screwdriver, flat blade. Now I've already determined that my valve is bad. It was stuck in the open position due to corrosion or carbon buildup on the inside, which you can't see it here. This is the new one, but the one that I'm replacing is still on the car. Brand new, $115. Caught early enough, it'll prevent you from destroying your air pump, which costs even more. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this test, and the vehicle needs to be completely cold in order to do this test. So let us begin. Okay guys, the first thing you want to do before you start checking any components on the vehicle is to check your fuses and your relays, which is in this box here. You may have a blown fuse, or you may have a bad relay. So you want to make sure that you check this area first. And look it up in your manual. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to disconnect this hose here from the air pump, and we're going to disconnect this pressure line or pressure hose here from the diverter valve, and we're going to disconnect this vacuum line. We're going to hook up the vacuum gauge to this vacuum line, because as we begin our test, that vacuum line comes around the front of the motor and it goes right there in the vacuum solenoid. I hope you can see that. Okay, so we're going to disconnect everything, get everything set up, and then we're going to crank the car and do our test. Okay? Okay guys, this is how we're going to do the test. I've connected the vacuum gauge. I've disconnected the high pressure hose, and I've disconnected the hose from the air pump. Now, with the way the system works, when the vehicle is completely cold, like first thing in the morning, when you crank up your vehicle and it's in the warm-up mode, the air pump cuts on for roughly 2 minutes. At the same time, your solenoid here, vacuum actuated solenoid, is drawing vacuum, which draws vacuum on this diverter valve, which opens the valve so that the air pump can pump air into the exhaust manifold. And that's roughly for only about 120 seconds or 2 minutes. If this valve here is stuck in the open position, it allows exhaust gases to be forced back up to the pump, and that is what destroys the air pumps on these cars. I already did the test earlier, and I found mine to be stuck open, so I know mine is bad. But we're going to show you what happens first thing when you crank it up. We should be able to see vacuum here, which means our vacuum operated solenoid is working, and we should hear and feel the air pump working here, and at the same time we should be able to put our finger or a piece of paper over that hole down there to determine whether or not the valve is stuck open or not. Now, it might not be stuck open now because I kind of forced it closed, but it was open earlier when I tested it. So I'm gonna crank the car up, and we're gonna do this test quick as possible. The air pump is not running. We have vacuum. I do have air seeping through this valve. It's not as strong as it was, but it is coming through when it's supposed to be closed. It's supposed to be closed because I have no vacuum attached to it. You can hear it. This is what I used to take it off while the motor's cold. Now, there is a gasket that mounts on there that you may have to replace or may not have to replace. In my case, the gasket is still good. So I'm going to mount it and snug it down. You never want to over torque any nuts or bolts on these cars, because it doesn't take a lot. Everything is like in inch pounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount the new diverter valve now. Alright guys, it's a done deal. Less than 2 minutes to put the valve on and tighten down the clamp, hose clamp, and put on the vacuum hose. Nothing to it. Pretty quick and easy. All that's left is the clip this little decorative cap on that comes with it. Just snaps right on. Now, alright guys, you can hear the pump running, and you can also feel it running. Alright back up.
It is now pumping air into the exhaust manifold, cutting down on the pollutants during the warm-up. And pretty much that's it.